Hi there. In this video, we're going to be talking about right triangle similarity. Now, if I have a right triangle here, what I can do is I can cut this triangle into two other smaller right triangles, okay? So what I want to do is label these sides, okay? And I'm going to label it as A, B, and then I'm going to label this entire side here as C, okay? Now that's my big triangle, okay? I also, once I create this altitude of this right triangle, I then cut that into two other smaller right triangles. Now I'm going to call this length here D. I'm going to call this length here E, and this length here F, okay? And one of the things that we have is that, in this, the length of C is equivalent to taking the length of E plus the length of F. All right, now, what I want to do is talk about the relationships that are created, all right? And the thing that I want you to write down is that you have three triangles, and they are all similar, okay? And I want to talk about the relationships that are created between each of those triangles. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the phrase small triangle, medium triangle, and then the big triangle, all right? So you have this small one here, you have this medium-sized one here, and then you have the big one here, okay? And so in this, I just want to write out the Pythagorean theorem for each of these. So you have E squared plus D squared is equal to A squared. So when you have this small triangle here, here's your right angle, the side length of A is your hypotenuse of that small triangle. All right, in your medium triangle, you've got D squared plus F squared is equal to B squared, where this length is the hypotenuse of this medium-sized triangle. Now in your big triangle, we've got A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. All right, so just understanding that you have legs and hypotenuses of these different triangles, and that A and B actually become hypotenuses of these smaller triangles, all right? So now what I want to do is I want to set up a number of proportions, okay? And this is mainly just going to be, very formula-based, all right? I will look at a couple of problems towards the end of the video, but I want to just set up a bunch of different proportions so that you can see how I set these up, all right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a proportion for my short side being divided by my long side, all right? So this length here, all right? So if I write this out as E being divided by D, okay, that's going to be equivalent then to, so if that's what I'm setting up in my small triangle, I can relate that to my medium-sized triangle, and I can set this up as D, that's the short leg, divided by my longer leg in this case, which is F, okay? And then if I wanted to set that ratio up with my big triangle, I would take my short leg, which is A, and then divide that by my long leg in this case, which is B, all right? So that will work for any triangle. Any one of those ratios will work, all right? And you could set E over D equal to A over B. You could set E over D to D over F, and so on and so forth, okay? So let's look at another one. Now let's take a look at our short leg, all right, in this case E, being divided by our hypotenuse A. Okay, so I'm going to write out our short leg E being divided by our hypotenuse A. Okay, now let's relate that to each of the other triangles. So in this one, we could take our short leg and the medium-sized one, D, and then divide that by our hypotenuse, B. Okay, and then let's do that for our other one in this case, which is our short leg of A being divided by our hypotenuse of C. Okay, so A being divided by C. All right, and so that's the kind of thing that I want you to see as to how I'm setting these up. So, however I look at one triangle and set up my ratio is how you would have to set up the other one in the other triangles, okay? And you can set up a proportion using these lengths, all right? Now, let's look at one more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my longer leg and divide that by our hypotenuse. So I'm going to take side length D and divide by our hypotenuse A, okay? And then that's in the small triangle. If I wanted to relate that within our medium-sized triangle, I would take the side length of F, okay, so side length of F, and then divide that by our hypotenuse, which is B, okay? And then if I wanted to do that in our big triangle, all right, I would take the side length of B and then divide that by our hypotenuse of the big one, which is C. Okay, so I am writing kind of all over this, all right, but these are all the different ratios that you can set up given a right triangle that is then cut into two smaller right triangles. Okay, so let's look at a practice problem. All right, so here's an example of a typical problem that you'll run into when you're doing right triangle similarity. And the goal of this is to solve for the side length of P, okay? Now, what I want to do is take a look at what you have. Now, you're given the small leg and the big leg of your small triangle. You have the small leg and you're looking for the big leg of your medium triangle. So watch how I do this. So I'm going to take my small leg of my small triangle, which is 6, and divide that by the big leg of my small triangle, which in this case is 15. And we're going to set that equal to the small leg of our medium-sized triangle and divide that by the big leg of our medium-sized triangle, which is P. And what you've done is you can now set up a proportion and solve this equation for P. So let's start by cross multiplying. So let's do 6 times P. So 6 times P is equal to 15 times 15. All right. So you've got that 6P is then equal to 225. All right. We're going to divide both sides by 6. And that's going to give us a solution for P where P is equal to 37.5, okay? So just using that concept of going, you have your small leg and your big leg of your small triangle, small leg, big leg of your medium-sized triangle, you can set up that proportion and solve that equation for your variable. All right, so that's all I've got for this video. Please reach out if you have any questions, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.